Welcome to the Gentlewoman Boss podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Horlbogen. I'm on a mission to foster civility, respect, and integrity in the boardroom and beyond, and I invite you to join me on my quest. Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of episode 7, All Voices Will Be Heard, with workplace bullying expert Linda Crockett. As I've been saying all week and all month, October is National Bullying Prevention Month, and this week, October 18 through 24, is Freedom from Workplace Bullies Week in the United States and Workplace Bullying Awareness Week in Canada. So I lined up great guests to share with you on the podcast this month, and today I have the second part of my interview with Linda Crockett. So just a little bit about Linda. She is a certified trauma therapist and social worker with 32 years of experience in her profession. After experiencing workplace bullying and receiving a diagnosis of PTSD as a result, she discovered there were no resources available to people suffering from this workplace abuse. Linda then completed her master's degree specializing in this area and became a long-standing member of the International Association of Workplace Bullying and Harassment. She is also a proud alumni of the Workplace Bullying Institute in the USA. In 2010, she pioneered the first full-service workplace bullying resource center in Canada. Linda offers services from consults to assessments, training for leaders and staff, advocacy, and coaching. On the private practice side of her business, Linda provides specialized treatment for those who are harmed and a specialized rehab program for those doing the harming. Her philosophy is that we must provide education and treatment for all parties, or we will never fully resolve this abuse. Linda has lobbied for changes in policies, legislation, and with this now obtained in Alberta, Canada, she is working on establishing standards for investigations relating to workplace psychological harassment or psychological violence. So today's episode is just a fantastic follow-up from part 1. We dig deep into a lot of really interesting questions, including at the end, I asked Linda if she still gets bullied, and you're going to be a little bit shocked at her answer. Pretty interesting. So hang on for just a second, and I will be bringing Linda back for part 2 of All Voices Will Be Heard on the Gentlewoman Boss podcast. You're the person that can facilitate that and get in there and dig in there and work those muscles and go through that catharsis, and they come out so much better, so much happier, so much less anxious, right? They get their life back, and then their targets get their life back too. It's a win-win.
Right. That's right.
Okay, next question. Are we ready to move on?
Sure.
Okay. And I know you have actually a seminar coming up about this soon. What are common mistakes that contact professionals make when addressing these cases? And do you want to kind of explain who falls into that category?
Contact professionals are usually the first people that targets go to, for questioning or support. So that could be your union, that could be your occupational health and safety, it could be your human resource person or a mediator. If a lot of companies tend to want to use mediation, which is not advisable if there's an injury, by the way. So a contact professional would be one of them, an investigator, or insurance companies, or even we would hope that some doctors and nurses and other treating professionals would join this one as well. So it's your first responses when somebody's coming to you. For example, if I'm a target and I'm terrified that you're not going to believe me, my nervous system is way overwhelmed, I'm scared nobody's been ever validating me. The last thing you want to say to people is, oh, you're too sensitive, or just go do your job, or if you don't like your job, leave. These first comments are really hurt and create more problems. So we need to educate contact professionals on trauma and give them some trauma-informed skills and help them understand the injury. The injury a target sustains can sometimes leave them looking like they are the problem because we are emotionally overwhelmed. Depression can often show up as agitation or anger, impatience, intolerance, and so can anxiety. So we want to explain the injury and what that looks like and how comments can harm more or how comments can actually really help a person survive. And recovery is shorter. Some of the mistakes that we're seeing being made by insurance companies are, we're denying your claim because this is bullying. We don't deal with bullying. Well, that's not true. This is depression. This is adjustment disorder. This is anxiety disorder. This is rumination. This is insomnia. There's all kinds of diagnoses. But some of these contact professionals are saying things like that. Get back to work. This is just bullying.
Yeah.
Very wrong.
I would get, oh, that's just how she is. Even from the chairman. Oh, that's just how she is.
That's true.
She's passionate. She's passionate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think
don't rock the boat, Michelle.
Oh, don't poke the bear. Don't rock the boat. Keep a low profile.
Yeah.
Wait till my book comes out. So basically the initial key role of the contact professional is whether you think this person's crazy, it's all in their head, they're being oversensitive, doesn't matter. You need to create that safe box of a safe haven for them initially, and then take the correct steps to make sure their voice is heard and protect them, right? However that is.
If you understand psychological harassment, if you fully understand psychological harassment, psychological violence, if you fully understand the psychological injury, you're going to change those responses to, I didn't see it happen, but something bad has happened to you and I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Now, I've just validated you and I didn't even witness it, right? But I validated that you're going through something tough. Right. That will bring a nervous system down so fast.
It just calms me down hearing you say that.
Right. You want a place that's safe, that is going to be non-judgmental, that is going to be knowledgeable, and is going to validate you, and then it's going to offer you some valid direction and guidance.
So that's their role at that point when the target comes forward, which takes a lot of courage. We know that, and bravery, and facing the fear of the unknown when you make that big step for help.
And if you're a contact professional, you have a responsibility and an obligation ethically and professionally to gain as much knowledge in this area as you can, because we do not want to risk causing a secondary injury.
Yeah. And that is also, again, keeping your doctors involved in what's happening in your head or in your body at that point, right?
That's right.
What are common mistakes that HR or others make when assessing or investigating these cases?
Well, I think we covered a good part of that, but one of them is that you really need to take training. You need to be accountable and ethical and take the training. Don't just suddenly do an investigation. Just because you've been trained to do investigations doesn't mean you've been trained to do a psychological harassment training, and that should be including trauma-informed skills. And also, a lot of HR people are doing investigations when there's even the slightest risk of bias. You should not be doing it. You want to create safety for the participants, for the employees that are involved. You want to create safety and trust. And if you're going to do an investigation when you've not been trained, or you might be friends with one of the people, you have just heightened the fear and damaged the trust, and you're wasting your money because it's not going to solve the problem. So you need to be ethical enough to hire a third-party investigator that is not your friend.
It's neutral. That's completely
the training, and there's absolutely no risk of bias. I say to people, give your employees 3 choices. Empower them whenever you can. Give them 3 choices of investigators to select from. Let them have a voice. Let them have some power. Just don't constantly tell them what they're going to do next. Give them some choices.
Right.
So really hear them, really inform them, but make sure you're qualified to do what you're doing.
Right, because many times internal investigations are just another layer of the cover up of what's really going on in the organization. I mean, that's exactly what I went through. It's like, I didn't even get an investigation. I got a phone call and wasn't even allowed back in my office, like, to get my stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think the neutral third party being involved, invited in, welcomed in, and if anyone that can make those key decisions is not willing to embrace that as an option, they're hiding something, or they know exactly what their culture is and they don't want to be exposed. So that's their own selfish agenda surpassing the need of the employee. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
see, that's one of my issues right now. We've just started a task group to talk about investigations because I truly believe there needs to be standards established. With more awareness over the last 12 years, we're seeing more and more investigators, and we're seeing mistakes. And we need these investigators to be trained to do psychological harassment cases. And as I was saying, but some of the mistakes I'm seeing are employers, you'll see a very poor investigation, but the employers will not let the employee appeal. There's no process. They have to accept it. And yet it's a very contaminated, poorly done investigation.
Yeah.
And this person has to accept the outcome when it's absolutely way off base. I've seen a couple of really good people being accused of bullying, and the investigation substantiated, and there's absolutely no evidence to substantiate it.
Mm.
And then I see cases where there's lots of evidence and they're unsubstantiated. So we got a problem. We need to establish some standards for the investigations.
Yeah. And I know you recently put out a tweet about board governance, and when a decision is made or not made, which is usually not that, it leans toward that, handling or addressing these issues in the workplace in a nonprofit, right? Who's the board held accountable to? If the executive director is allowing a culture like that, and then the board knows it's happening, is aware of it, gets feedback from, through the grapevine, and they don't do their due diligence, who do they answer to?
Exactly.
That culture is never going to change, ever, unless, like, that's another whole podcast. Wow. Maybe I'll have you back. We'll talk about that.
And I'm glad we are talking about it because that's really not been discussed. And that's why I've been posting it. I've seen so many mistakes made because the chairman of the board is good friends with the executive director, and they're one of them are the problem, and they cover it up and they don't follow through. And I've recently seen one board member take it upon himself to create an investigation, do the investigation, and then give his outcome without anybody's permission or anything. And one of the people he's investigated was his close family member.
Wow.
Just imagine all the layers of contamination right there. And that just cannot happen.
Wow. But isn't it, so you're saying he wanted to figure out what was going on, even at the cost of his relationship with this relative?
Oh no, he completely took it because he wanted to protect his relationship.
Oh, I misunderstood. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, well, we're definitely going to have another episode on the nonprofit and boards.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm inviting you back. Okay, let me get back to my, our doctors, or how's your timeline, by the way?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are doctors, therapists, or insurance companies making mistakes on managing these issues too?
For the most part, I'm seeing a lot of improvement, but yes, some are making mistakes. So I'll just talk to those some that are making mistakes.
Okay.
For example, a doctor not knowing very much about this injury or even about legislation. If they don't know about the injury, they should know legislation. And so that's part of my teaching letters that I send doctors. So some of them are saying, get back to work, or they're sending them back way too soon, or they're just giving the wrong doc information on the forms that they're filling out for workers' compensation board or insurance companies. And some therapists are also making mistakes. As I said, I saw several. Cognitive behavioral therapy is not the best therapy to use right off the bat with these types of cases. And I think that's probably one of the most popular treatment modalities is cognitive behavior. But we don't want to start telling employees that your thinking is wrong. You need to look at it this way. How about look at it that way? That's not going to work right off the bat. You need safety, validation, you need information, and you need a place to know that you've been believed. That takes a little longer to establish with these clients. And again, insurance companies are making mistakes too. They're very judgmental, some of them. are very judgmental, very opinionated. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're refusing and denying cases. And then they have to appeal and appeal and appeal to get corrected. So we need all insurance companies trained. That's what we're doing with this contact professional training that we have. We need all case managers, adjudicators, and investigators trained for insurance companies. So yeah, we're still seeing mistakes.
Yeah, I think like, one of the things I've tried to do my whole life, when I don't understand something or I feel like someone's exaggerating or even not being really honest, I try to put myself in their shoes. So if an insurance adjuster reads a case of obvious workplace abuse and is by the letter of the law saying this doesn't fall into a category we cover that we're going to pay for, put yourself in that person's shoes. Pretend that was your boss or your superior or your director treating you like that, or treating your best buddy at work like that. You wouldn't have, like, it's almost like you need that empathy, that like, put yourself in their shoes. Would you want help? Would you want the time off? Would you want the help you need to get through this? And I think it's also like the disengagement thing at work. People just go in, they punch in, they do their job, and there's like, they have no room for the humanity side of it, right? Like they're just an adjuster and they're, yep, no, yes, no, approved, not approved. Take a minute and really read what you're reading and speak up, say something, say, let's figure out a way we can help these people. I mean, I don't know.
No, actually, Michelle, that was beautifully said. I really appreciate that. One of the mistakes that they made on my case when I went on insurance because I was on sick leave was to deny me sick benefits because I refused to take antidepressants. Now that should be a choice that I get to make.
Absolutely.
If I want to take antidepressants or not, but they denied me because I said, no, I don't want them. I had to run around for, I think it was probably 3 months trying to build my case, get the psychiatrist to write a report, doctor to write a report, psychologist to write a report before they overturned that decision and allowed me to have my benefits.
Which just adds more stress and anxiety to what you're already going through.
Incredibly so. Now I'm terrified I'm going to lose my house, terrified I'm going to lose, not be able to pay my bills, sleepless nights. You've just now exacerbated my injury. And insurance companies don't want to make those mistakes.
And even if you are depressed, which at that point I'm sure you were, I mean, there's only so much you can take. Pumping yourself up on drugs, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with taking them. I understand the need for them. But if you want the clarity of feeling what you're feeling and thinking what you're thinking to get through that process without being medicated, that's your choice. That should not be, that's like stinking Stalinist, like drug them up, or, like, it's almost like you can't force people. That's wrong. That's not their choice to make, I guess.
Well, they should be responsible for their recovery. Absolutely. So there needs to be a treatment plan, and there needs to be evidence that they're following a treatment plan. You can't just go on sick leave and not do treatment.
Right.
I should have the choice of whether it's going to take an antidepressant or not. In my case, I was allergic to all of them, too sensitive. It made me sick. I was willing to try, but they just made me sick, and I chose not to. So I should have that right, as long as I'm following a treatment plan.
And do they, I don't know a lot about it. Do they embrace like holistic treatment for these things that come with this, or is that not even covered by insurance? I don't even know.
It depends on where you are and what hospital, what doctor. Everybody's different.
Okay.
I see more openness to looking at natural ways. And I did see a naturopath and have my naturopath communicate with my doctor. And so I think that's becoming more open, but it's still not accepted in a lot of areas.
Yeah, that needs to be, because, again, it's our health is our choice, our responsibility. So Linda, now that more people are talking about workplace bullying, are you seeing things improve, or are you seeing more mistakes being made, or both?
It's both sides. I'm seeing some improvements. Absolutely. I'm seeing more people train on this topic. This used to be a taboo topic. I brought stuff up on LinkedIn 10 years ago that people would not like and people would not, engage in. I saw that happen for years. And now all of a sudden people are engaging and risking and talking, and there's more people training. There's more services, more HR people going into private practice. So we're seeing improvements there. Even with Workers' Compensation Board, they're doing a lot better. Perfect, no, but a lot better. There's more services available. But on the flip side of that, I'm also seeing people, talk about bullying from their own wounded perspective and giving information out there, labeling and speaking as if they're experts, but they're coming from a very wounded place. And that can be very confusing for other people. But you make a statement, you need to make sure that it's research-based, it's evidence-based, or that you've had some hands-on work experience in this area. So I'm seeing some mistakes being made that way. And as I had said before, investigators not trained, HR is not trained. That's the kind of mistakes we're seeing. So Pat Ferris in Calgary and I have put together a 2-part webinar, one for contact professionals, and the second part is for treating professionals. Because we're not the only ones in the world doing it, so I can only speak to us, but we're trying to make improvements out there. And like I said, I'm also trying to work with a team for investigations. There's another group of people trying to work on nonprofits. So as long as these groups keep showing up to take different aspects, because it's vast, we're going to keep seeing improvements.
Yeah, it does seem daunting sometimes. And I have to speak to what you said, because I know, especially early on, I would vent a lot about everything. And it probably wasn't that professional, I know. Or putting my potential career prospects at risk for speaking out. But so I tried to get a little more serious and professional. But then I realized this is like all in or nothing from my viewpoint, because I can either say nothing, not comment, not post, not share source material. Like I'm all in or not in, because all in means I am probably most definitely shutting off a lot of options for a future career in anything, because I'm going to be considered a whistleblower. I'm going to be someone that's too opinionated or speaks out. But what's the alternative? If what I put out there can help, or what I share, because most of what I have very little original content. I just find stuff and I put it out there and I share it. You need to read this. So if that helps one person, I don't know, I'll make masks the rest of my life. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
It's almost like and that is a dilemma that anyone that goes through this, as far as publicly addressing it, does have to consider. There is a price, a cost, and that's only your decision to make. We can't, but the fact that this momentum is building and the changes are being made, and there's work toward legislation and laws, like you said, in Alberta, you never thought, is it Alberta? Did I say that? Yeah. You never thought you'd see that. And there you have it now. So there's a momentum building, and I think there's strength in numbers. We all know that. And like I said, the big picture, our children, your grandchildren, what kind of work world will they be engaged in, right? We hope a better one, a more fair one, for sure.
And you put that really well. The momentum has been building for longer than most people realize. This has been going on for 20, 30 years. The research has been available, services have been available. Most people don't know there's a residential treatment program for people who suffered workplace bullying in Germany, and there's a day program in Norway. And when I found that out, I thought, I got to start a treatment center here in Canada. And that is the way of our future. This issue is not going away. It is getting worse. And we're seeing more suicides, homicides, and deaths related to this abuse. So we need to get on board with the changes that are coming.
Yeah. And I think social media is a very, so many mixed opinions about it. But the one thing it has done is given a voice to like your cause, to your work, because we have celebrities speaking up and speaking out against this kind of thing. And we have big name companies and organizations out there that are literally being exposed that would never have happened without social media, right? Because the word will get out. The Ellen DeGeneres show, the Away Luggage Company, the Recording Academy, and without those brave people, right, that it could be just a secretary that works in an office that finally has enough and says something. But if a celebrity hears about it and they have some contact to that company or organization or mission and they take it up, woo, it's like it's all over the place. And
That's
that is
right.
something organizations have to be aware of. It's like
Yeah,
reputational risk is huge.
that's right.
No, and hold yourself accountable, hold your team accountable, be proactive, protect your organization because it's the
Walk
momentum's
the talk.
yeah, yeah.
Walk the talk. Practice what you preach. If you've got policies and procedures in place of zero tolerance, then you better walk your talk because your employees are watching you. And if you're not following through, why would they? So you as leaders, you set the tone of a work environment. What tone do you want that to be?
Yep.
And earlier you said something important that I went through and took years to process whether I was going to be somebody who represented the corporation or was I somebody who was just going to represent the employee. And I decided I needed to give a voice to all sides, and not show a bias on all sides. I mean, I can be 100% for one, but I need to have a service that gives it to all. And, whoever you hire to come and train for you, you need to look at their backgrounds because if you hire a police officer, they're going to have a more criminal background. If you hire a teacher, if you hire a doctor, it'd be more medical. If you hire a therapist like me, you're going to get a full holistic perspective. So you need to decide what level of learning do you want your employees to have.
Mm-hmm.
There's an awful lot of employers out there that put them on a 1-hour webinar and check the box, okay, we met our obligation. But you're not investing in change if you do that.
No, and you have to be, I think a key quality for leaders, especially right now with everything going on, you have to be humble. You have to be willing to say something is broken here and we need help or I need help and I can't fix it or my team, we're in over our head. We need a professional like you to come in and assess and work with people. And that's hard for some people. I mean, to me, that if someone can't do that, they're not
I've worked with
yeah. Go ahead.
I've worked with some of those organizations that are 100% in, and they are fantastic to work with. They implement the changes immediately, and they mean it. They're very sincere, and I just want to give your listeners, yes, there are employers like that, and there are other employers that I know I'm in there just for them to check a box.
Mm-hmm.
But they still asked me to come in, so I work hard to create some change in their perspective and teach them about, in depth on this issue. And I do see changes happen. In some of the most roughest workplaces, I've seen them buy into this change, like construction, where they're really they've learned to have some really bad language and really insult each other, and their teasing is way over the
Way
line.
beyond, yeah. It's in the field, right? What's acceptable. Yeah. So what helps people restore, repair, or recover and move on with their lives? What do you say is the biggest thing?
Oh, the biggest thing.
I shouldn't. Don't let me narrow it down. Just elaborate.
Well, there's a lot to say there, but see somebody. Don't go through this alone. Avoid isolating because that's what your bully wants. Learn about bullying, but you need to pace yourself. Sometimes you need to disconnect completely. There are some of my clients that I tell them to get out of town, take a flight, go away, disconnect from your phone, your computer, your email, the material, your writing of your investigation. Get out of town and take a good nervous system break.
Mm-hmm.
Go sit on a beach because they're ruminating so much they can't get a break, right? They need to calm down off of that.
Yeah.
We kind of get obsessed sometimes, get a little paranoid sometimes. Mm-hmm. That's what this abuse does to people.
Yes, it does.
We need to connect a bit. So see somebody, see a professional, get to your doctor, do some self-care. Mm-hmm. How would you treat your daughter or your son if they went through this? How would you treat your sister or your brother? You would give them all kinds of self-care advice. Well, listen to your own advice. Mm-hmm. We tend to eat badly, sleep badly, forget to listen to music, forget to paint, forget to garden. We stop doing all that self-care stuff when we're totally stressed out. And that's the opposite of what we should do. We need to sleep right. We might need medication. We might need to learn meditation. to calm our nervous system down. Meditation is one of the best practices
Mm-hmm.
to get left brain, right brain, body, and mind back on board. And we need all four systems to deal with this. So yoga, meditation, take a class that calms your nervous system. That might be painting. Get back to singing. I don't know what it is you do, but get back to those things because you need to be able to cope with that. So see a counselor, a therapist, see your doctor. Have somebody help you stay in line for your own self-care.
Yeah. Excellent advice. Like you said, it is hard to do when you're, what did you call it? Ruminating? Oh, that's
Yeah, we
deadly.
get stuck in ruminating.
Oh, it was, and verbally ruminating. And then your family's like, shut up. It's not really, they feel bad. It's just, we can't stop the loop. It's actually a scary place to be. And I'm not there. I'm not there anymore, but I felt like I would never not be running that loop. I really did.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to make sense of it, and it doesn't make any sense. And and you're trying to, it's like you just have to get to the point, like you've said, it's not acceptable and it's not okay. And that's okay.
You know what? You'll never understand that thinking. You'll never have that type of thinking pattern brain. You can't get into their heads to figure it out. I know we all want to know why. And there's lots of reasons why. You can see that article that Janice and I wrote on my website, Why Me? Read that. But sometimes there is no answer for that. They're just sick, and you can't stop trying to figure out why, how they think. We know it doesn't have to happen. We know there's answers. We know there's solutions. We know all that. But if the perpetrator's not there, you can't fix. We're just little tiny people, and we're trying to fight these mountains. And that's how we get stuck in rumination.
Yeah. And I think you have to get to the point that you're not going to get the apology you feel you deserve. You're not, or the explanation. And once you accept that, right? Like we have to figure out the situation to move on. We have to find a place to make peace with it, leave it where it is, because the longer it dominates our thoughts, our heart, our emotions, our gut, everything, but we're letting that bully. This is how I look at it. I'm letting the bullying. She's still bullying me. So no more.
I see some of my clients who haven't been around their bully in years yet. And it sounds like the bully's sitting right on the couch beside them because they're so stuck in that place, and we need to get them unhooked. That's why I say get out of town. You need to be unhooked. Some of that stinking thinking makes you sick. And I say you're bullying yourself right now.
Yeah.
With stinking thinking.
I love that. The stinking thinking. Stop the stinking thinking. That's awesome. Okay. This one's a little personal, Linda, but as an anti-bullying specialist, do you still get bullied?
Yeah, I do. I have been bullied on the internet, and I call the internet an abyss of weaponry if somebody wants to hurt you. And, we know all about cyberbullying. So yes, on LinkedIn, actually, I was cyberbullied by someone. And I knew how to deal with that. It didn't impact me too much. I knew how to deal with that. But yes, I've actually been bullied by other people that I've ended up working with in this field. Sometimes, yeah, I have. And it's been painful, I have to say. I recognize it a lot faster, obviously. When I get out of it faster. The injury, it recovers faster, but this is the last place I expected to deal with some toxic people. I did work with a narcissist for quite a while there, and ended up in a bit of a place of self-doubt for me. And I had to go back to all my work and really assess where I was at, and realize what I was dealing with was that insidious manipulation of a narcissist, and got out of that really quick.
Good for you.
Good.
Yeah, good for you. So what do you, is it that competitiveness that is maybe inbred in certain personality types, that even in a field like you are pioneering in, that you're to help people that are targets, that it can still happen? Like this isn't one of my prepared questions for you, but like, what drives that still? It's almost like hypocritical, but what pushes a certain personality? Is it the competitiveness? Is it a success?
Well, again, I think it's a very big, a lack of insight. a lack of ability to really go deep inside here and have that moral connection. Some
Mm-hmm.
people just really love the ego trip of performing in front of people and training people and putting on a big show,
Mm-hmm.
rather than really looking at everybody in the audience
Mm-hmm.
and connecting with that human and being part of the human experience. Some people just want to perform and look really good at what they're talking about and sound really good at what they're talking about.
Right.
But emotionally connecting to it is a different thing,
Totally different.
So, I worked with this person. I did make mistakes. I'm human. We all make mistakes. I don't know everything. So I could make mistakes, but that person would constantly remind me of those mistakes and constantly overspeak and overtake things that I was doing.
Mm.
And I just had to back out of there really quickly. So it still happens. That's how we talk about how insidious this abuse is and how it works
Mm.
in every profession. It happens. It doesn't matter how educated you are. It doesn't matter how well you speak up. Over time, this will take down the strongest people you know, right? So that assumption and myth about the target being weak or not being able to speak up for themselves. I've heard people in my profession say, well, I would never let anybody bully me. And I think to myself, uh-oh, you're in trouble because you don't see this coming. You don't even know it's happening until you're kind of injured. So it's not about the people that walk through my door. Let me tell you, they're very educated and they're very vocal.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is 1,000 cuts over time. It'll take any man or woman down,
Absolutely.
and you don't know it until it's too
Yeah.
late.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a message in that no one's really immune to it, or no sector, no field, no mission is going to be spared 100% from the possibility of bullying happening for whatever people's insecurities, jealousy, competitiveness, ego trip, the usual symptoms, right? Um, what has been the most difficult part of this journey that you've been on, Linda?
I think there's sections. In the beginning, the difficult part was not having a mentor or a group or a team of people, because some of these cases are very painful. They pull at my own heartstrings. They're just horrid nightmares. And so it would have been nice to have a team of people that we could have done peer support consults. We could have had. I always wanted a team of different professions so that we sat at a table to discuss a couple of cases of what was best next, because I think we have to help people have strategies.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, that was really tough. And the next part was trying to find people to work with me. And like you said, it's all or nothing. And I need people that are fully committed, because some people just wanted me to hand over work and they wanted to make money, but they didn't want to do the work. So I was frequently disappointed, because you really need to commit to hard work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hand things over to you. And so, they let me down, and it was readjusting again to that. And I finally got to the place where I just can't find people that I can completely commit to this and to do the work. And I think the last part is feeling hurt by these people that I thought were really there, committed to do the work. I felt disappointed because I get so excited about working with people and having a
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
and just to be let down. So there's tough stuff here, and it can be competitive. I don't like the competitive nature.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to help people, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to help people get better at helping people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Pass it on. Right. Pass it on. Um, I think it's probably, from what you've shared, it can be a lonely space sometime for you.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of us work in sort of like a silo, right? So we're on our
Mm.
own around the world. And I have tried many times to connect different groups. And the Workplace Bullying Awareness Week, I've been trying for the last 2 years to make that worldwide, because we need to be sharing with each other and helping each other. This is a worldwide issue and we need a
Mm-hmm.
worldwide solution. And so to try and combat some of that loneliness, I feel I've reached out to many people around the world,
Mm-hmm.
trying to collaborate and connect.
Well, I think what to what you just said about work, the week next week is the bullying. Well, this is bullying prevention month, but then next week in Canada, in North America, is a specific week devoted to that, which is why I fearfully asked you to be my guest this week so I could have it ready to drop the podcast next week, sort of to share your insights with people during a week where there's a lot of eyes on the topic, right? And I agree with you 100%. The more countries that continents, whatever, can create that awareness, like we have Alzheimer's awareness, I believe that's international. Like if just it would give everyone sort of that common goal to really focus on having that week or that month with phenomenal content that can be made available to the public. I mean, some things we have to charge for. I mean, some of us, that's how you make a living, but then what can we generate for, get that discussion going, I don't know. I feel like I agree with you that there's a need for solidarity with that. And then because movements that are on that level get the attention of the people that can affect change, where the
Well, there's power in numbers,
yeah,
right? There's
absolutely.
power in numbers. And I mean, there's times when groups of employees from one organization come to me, sit at the table to discuss the strategy of a group bringing abuse forward. And I see the effect that that has on an employer. Like they address it immediately when there's a group of people, there's power in numbers. Imagine worldwide, and look at the progress we have made over the last decade just with domestic violence and sexual assault. Now we're announcing it. We have commercials, we have resources, we have posters, we have days that we bring awareness to domestic violence and sexual assault, and we've changed a lot of that shame that occurs in that abuse.
Right.
We need to take workplace bullying out of the closet and do the same thing.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. As far as in your career, this career that was waiting for you that you didn't know was your calling and that you're in now, what has been the most rewarding part of it?
Well, I have really come out of my shell. I have, that passion we talked about, being able to speak in front of crowds and online like this, but also seeing people that present like they're so suicidal and they're so fragmented and fractured and helpless, men and women, watching that transformation, whether they're the target, bystander, or perpetrator, has been the most amazing experience for me because there has not been a resource like this, and it's saving lives. It really is saving lives. We've had to put people in the hospital and we've seen them survive, so watching people survive this and even become, people that get involved in this work, that's been so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's been worth every blood, sweat, and tear I've experienced.
Yeah, saving a life, and I'm sure you've probably saved more than one. It doesn't get more rewarding like that. More rewarding than that, excuse me. That's unbelievable. All
Yeah.
your hard work paying off. So, Miss Linda, what is
I
next
feel
for
very
you?
fortunate.
I'm sure.
Well,
I'm
I
sure
mentioned it.
you're like, that's the blessing for me, but you're the blessing for those candidates that get to work with you. So, what's next for you, Linda? What's on the horizon?
Well, the focus on the webinars is going to be really important, changing some of the systems, right? Because I talked about the internal and external systems creating more betrayal. So I'm looking at the systems now, trying to train insurance companies, train doctors, train mediators, train investigators. I'm also looking, as I said, about the task for investigations, and any investigators out there that want to join, just email me because we want to try and establish some standards.
Mm-hmm.
So the treatment, next year I want to start a support group, and I want to create a model for a support group, a psychoeducational support group. So I'm going to focus a lot more on the treatment and recovery piece for all 3 employees. At the same time, work on the systems and improve those gaps that exist.
You're going to be a busy lady.
Always have been.
busier, right?
Don't say that.
Well, it's been phenomenal to hear. You are just such a wealth of information and expertise and compassion for people. It's just incredible. And I really hope that this podcast gets out there, and whether you are a target, if you if you target people, if you see it in your organization happening and you don't know what to do, you need to contact Linda Crockett and she will help you find a way through it. Oh, one more question, Linda. So this is something I ask all my podcast guests at the end. What quality of a gentlewoman or gentleman do you feel is most important to emulate and why?
I think the most important quality is to emulate is empathy. And I think empathy is so important because we don't have to experience something in order to understand it. And if we can just learn what is the difference between empathy, sympathy, and compassion, we'll have far more skills to offer people out in the world. So empathy is just the skill of reaching inside to try and find something that you can relate to that person is going through. Mm-hmm. So if you've suffered a loss, you'll connect with that feeling and you'll be right there with that person and really understand it. You won't try to fix it. You won't try to minimize it. You'll just say, oh, I've been there. I get it. That's enough. I think empathy is a really powerful skill for any leader or any staff member to learn.
I agree with you 100%. And you are not the first guest that chose that word, and which is so telling to me because I pick the best guests for my podcast. I do. I have amazing people that have agreed to come on and share. And I think in 2020, it is sorely lacking in every level of society. So focusing, starting your day, coming from a place of empathy can be a day changer, a week changer, a month changer on every level. At home, we're all at home with our families way more than we're used to. Our kids are stuck in their bedrooms going to college. I mean, my poor kid, we have to stop and put ourselves in their shoes and just be tender with them and gentle and patient. So that's a great way to end this amazing segment. Thank you so much for your time, Linda.
Thank you for being such a great host, Michelle.
Oh, it was great. And I do want to have you back to talk about nonprofits and boards of directors. So we'll let this wave run and then we'll set that up. Okay. Have a great week and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Gentlewoman Boss podcast. Don't forget to download my show so you can listen whenever and wherever you'd like. And if you're enjoying the show, please take a second and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps with ratings and distribution. Thank you so much. As always, if you'd like to share your story, or if you have a question you'd like answered or on an upcoming episode of the show, you can visit my website or send me a DM on any of my social media platforms. Find and follow me at gentlewomanboss. If you prefer to watch podcasts rather than just listen to the audio version, my episodes are uploaded on my YouTube channel in video format as well. Click subscribe, and when new episodes drop, they'll show up in your feed. Super easy. So until next time, remember, always choose to be the gentlewoman or gentleman in the room. And I'll see you soon for the next episode of the Gentlewoman Boss podcast.